Okay, I'm now at this fifth section, which is sacrificing the family. And one of the things that you'll see in these narratives, these war narratives that we're going to look at over the next number of weeks, is that family is a liability and not an asset. Family weakens us, and making attachments in these kinds of narratives will sooner or later get you killed. You can usually tell who's going to die in a war film based on whether or not they're having a problem in their marriage. If they're having a problem in the marriage, they're going to get killed. But first, though, there's going to be some kind of semi-resolution to the marriage problem. Then, personal D-Day. And this is a matter of policy. That basically you'll see this where these films, which are pro-military, pro-masculinity of a certain kind, that is very macho masculinity, which is all about the law of the penis, I suppose, amongst other things, and about women being fungible assets where basically you just pass them around. You just sort of like, doesn't matter as long as it has a vagina and breasts, is like, that's fine, we'll just use it. And there isn't anything specifically different about a particular woman, except in the two cases that we have here. One is Meg Ryan and one is Kelly McGillis. And Charlie will remind Maverick at one point, that these kinds of maneuvers, disastrous maneuvers, can cost a lot of money. But really, it's like, and death too. Death too. But the real issue is that the male relationship with a woman, the man's relationship with a woman, the male-female relationship, if there is one, is going to be problematic. So the clearest example of this is Cougar's problems, which we're going to have a look at. And then it's going to move on from Cougar because he's essentially just an omen of what is going to happen to Goose, who is clearly too effeminate. He's too soft because everybody likes him. So that's not going to wash. Okay, so have a look at these clips that I put together. There are three effectively little areas. Okay.
Cougar, we're running low on gas. We gotta get out of here. Cougar. We're on vapor, Cougar. Let's do it. Cougar, come on, Cougar.
Sir, let go of him. You gotta let him go, sir.
What I want you to see in the first clip is that Cougar, who is the stable, good guy, sort of quarterback type pilot, basically the all-American, the all-star American character, is washed out immediately, and we're left with sort of the troublemaker, Maverick. And this is a funny thing because actually the naval, none of the air forces will let you take a name like Maverick. It's like, no, it's just so macho. They just won't allow it. You have to have your handle okayed by command. They just wouldn't allow it. It's more likely to be something like Bubbles. They're okay with that. SpongeBob, fine, but Maverick, might as well call yourself Dick. It's not going to happen either. Okay, so Cougar we see the snapshot on the dash of on the cockpit dash, and we know that he is not going to make it, and he just avoids basically dying, and he's got his teammate, Tim Robbins' character, is trapped in the aircraft with him. And the only thing they can do is try to talk him down. They can't actually physically do anything. They can't, there's nothing you can do. You can't take control away from the pilot. You have a co-pilot, navigator, gunner, but the co-pilot quality is really not much. You don't have any, the second person doesn't have any real control over the aircraft. So here's Cougar with a snapshot, and as he begins to flip out, and fly on vapor because they're empty of fuel. And this is the one thing about these aircraft, is that they don't have range because they burn fuel at a fantastic rate. I mean, it's like a Zippo lighter. It's gone. They just burn up. So they have a very short range, and they got to get back to the aircraft carrier, refuel, launch again, and so on, which makes it all the more dangerous. So as you can see with Cougar, what makes him weak is the family, and that's the end of it for him. He washes out. He's gone. So the family weakens him because they've just had a baby, and that's it. Then we get Mother Goose, and Goose is in for the long haul apparently, and he's got a kid, and we see this kid, right? And this is as I say, this is the only child you will see. You will see the picture of Goose's child, of Cougar's child, but that's all. So here's Goose's kid and his good relationship with his wife. And basically, if the relationship is good, then he's going to be a bad military person. And it's sort of that simple at this point. If your head isn't completely in the game, then you're out of it. There is no game for you. And which is a very intriguing sort of picture. And it's very, very common. As I say, it's the people who are focused basically on war and war only. If you're a warrior, then there is nothing else for you. There is just being a warrior. It's very Japanese. Bushy. And then, of course, Goose gets killed, and this becomes very religious. And the image I put in there is of the Pieta, which is famous sculpture by Michelangelo, which shows Christ after he's being taken down from the cross. But basically, as Goose's body is being lifted up to the heavens, well, it's being rescued here, his body is being raised to the gods, and he's going to be flown off to heaven. So that's what happens to pilots who lose their function, lose their focus, basically. As in, you've got a family, you're not going to make it. Which is why it's interesting that at the end, when Maverick, it looks as though Maverick is going to have some kind of long-term relationship with Charlie, because that's what the promise of the ending is. He is no longer going to be a pilot. He is going to become an instructor, right? I mean, he's going to take over the Top Gun school and whatever, So he's going to go on flying, but he's not going to go on fly in war. Because he would be killed, right? Because he's going to attach himself to Charlie, and women will weaken you. This will become a very funny issue in Dr. Strangelove, but very common. The thing about these, especially the satire, is that satire wouldn't work if it wasn't about something that actually was real. So when we find something funny, it's always important. As they say, many a truth is spoken in jest. Anyway, there's a religious quality to Goose's ascension to heaven, which is why I put that in there. And look at the way that Scott has lit the shot, where he's using a green filter on the bottom of this frame and this orange filter, which he's fond of, at the top of the frame. He goes on using this in other films. He uses it in, I think, even in Domino, which is the film about the bounty hunter. But there's a real sort of like earth ground, like basically the planetary surface, the green part, the heavens, the sort of orange magical part of the world. Okay.